President Trump signing the religious liberty executive order today, which reaffirms religious freedom and tolerance by easing restrictions on the so-called Johnson Amendment that prohibited religious leaders from taking or talking about politics and taking stands from the pulpit. The executive order also allows nonprofits to deny health coverage for religious reasons. And, of course, that's a direct jab at Obamacare mandates. Joining me now, Kirsten Haglund, to discuss. Listen, it's and we have Steve Cortes as well. Okay, let me start with you, though, Kirsten. I thought it was a great thing. I never understood this, and a lot of people mistakenly always said, source this back to the Constitution, when indeed this was just Lyndon Baines Johnson who put this in the 1960s.
Right, and you know, it is good for free speech, right, because we want anyone, especially our religious organizations, to be able to say and speak, including political speech, however they want. My concern with a part of the executive order about the Johnson Amendment is that, you know, a lot of people who go to church to worship do to go to worship. They don't do it to hear about a politician, and I don't want to see fractions in the church or in the Jewish community, the Muslim community, between Republican churches and Democratic churches. But what is great about it, and a lot of Christian and as well as Jewish groups are very excited about the the easing of regulatory relief for those that object to some of these contraception mandates. And really, it's only for those. It's not just all contraception. It's not the pill. It's not IUDs. Those things. It's really only the Plan B pills and things like that. The ones that they think might cause abortions. That is a good thing, and he could have even gone further on that.
Steve, of course, one of the narratives, though, is that this is somehow will allow for money to be spent toward the discrimination of others based on religious ideas, or maybe using religion as a front.
Yeah, you know, Charles, I have to say, first of all, I think this is a promise kept by President Trump. He talked about this a lot during the campaign. I think it's one of the reasons that he won evangelicals by a huge margin. I think it's one of the reasons he won Catholics by a margin of 52 to 45, which was an exact reversal of the previous election where Obama won that by that amount. So it's a promise kept. But secondly, to your point about is this discriminatory, it is not at all. Churches are not about just the freedom to worship on Sunday. They're about the freedom to live by your principles. That's what real freedom of religion and religious liberty means in this country. And by the way, the founders, separation of church and state, yes, and freedom of religion, but not freedom from religion. And too often, that's what our federal government has done by telling people like the Little Sisters of the Poor, you must fund an activity, partial birth abortion, for instance, that you find highly objectionable, and the government's going to mandate it. And by the way, we're going to silence you. You can't even complain about it from the pulpit. Right.
And so you and I have also talked about the idea that belief in God in of itself has faded so much from this country that, from the Pledge of Allegiance and other things, that we probably need a booster shot of sorts. So we need the churches and the synagogues to be able to go out there and spread their message and maybe say, hey, this particular candidate doesn't have our best interests at heart. You know, I think there are times when they should be allowed to speak up.
Right. Well, and that is the case here. You have to have a fine line, but, you know, so many of our pastors and religious faith leaders in this country are in that place because they take their faith so seriously, and they're not just going to go out on the campaign trail and support someone just for the sake of it. And it's a good place that they're in to be able to lead their parishioners and say, hey, this is someone who does believe like us. And in that case, it can be a positive.
And I think it was a great day. Absolutely. Thank you both very much.